Welcome to this extraordinary meeting of Full Council. I'm Councillor Tony Vickers, Chairman of West Berkshire Council. The meeting is being live streamed via YouTube, so members of the public are able to follow the proceedings. Council members are present in the council chamber for this meeting, and any members of council who are in attendance remotely will be entitled to speak and ask questions when invited to do so by myself. Officers in attendance are the Chief Executive, Joseph Holmes, the Executive Director for Place, Claire Lawrence, and the Executive Director for Resources, Sarah Clark. Nicola Thomas, the Deputy Monitoring Officer, will be the legal advisor to me for this meeting. And I'm assisted by Stephen Chard, the clerk to the meeting, and by Sam Chiverton, the Zoom host. And I'd like to welcome Honorary Alderman in attendance. Before we start this evening's meeting, I would like to take the opportunity to remind members that we are subject to the Council's Code of Conduct, which requires us to uphold certain standards, including, importantly, respect. Members across the chamber may not always agree with one another, but I would ask that in our disagreements we endeavour to always be respectful to others' views. I'd also like to ask that any members of the public in attendance, and I don't think there are any, or I don't think I count aldermen as members of the public, do not interrupt the proceedings. Oh, there is one there, yes. Good evening, Mr. Pearce. I would ask you not to interrupt the proceedings, and please refrain from approaching councillors unless you're invited to do so. During the meeting, when a motion has been proposed and seconded, I will ask the monitoring officer to conduct the vote by a show of hands. Moving to amend agenda item 1, the apologies for absence. I'm asking the Deputy Monitoring Officer if any apologies have been received.
Thank you, Chairman. We've received apologies from councillors Nick Carter, Laura Coyle, Matt Shakespeare, Richard Sumner and Joanne Stewart. Councillors Jeff Mays and Vicky Poole are in attendance via Zoom. We've also received apologies from Honorary Alderman Graham Bridgman, Hilary Kroll, Adrian Edwards and Rick Jones. Are there any apologies from the floor?
Sorry, Chair, did you mention Councillor Culver?
I didn't.
She's at an LGA conference and sends her apologies.
Are there any other apologies from the floor? Thank you, Chair.
Moving on to agenda item 2, declarations of interest. I will ask the Deputy Monitoring Officer if there have been any declarations of interest submitted prior to the meeting and if there are any declarations from the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. No declarations of interest received ahead of the meeting. Are there any from the floor this evening? No, thank you.
So moving on to agenda item 3, the sole purpose for convening this special council meeting. It's about local government reorganisation and the full proposal for Oxfordshire and West Berkshire. And I would like to invite Councillor Justin Pemberton to formally move the recommendation contained within the report.
Happy to so move, Chair. Thank you.
May I ask for a seconder?
Seconded, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor McKinnon. Councillor Pemberton, would you like to introduce the report? Oh, do you wish to reserve your
I
right?
reserve my right, Chairman, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, Chair, could I just raise a point of order before
Proceed.
to interrupt Councillor Pemberton, so before he gets going? Can I just make the point, this is quite an important point for the meeting, I hope members will bear with me. The report that before us says that on the 19th of March, West Berkshire Council resolved to support the submission of an interim proposal for a unitary model. And it was the executive that resolved that on the 19th of March. I do think the papers give the impression that that was full council. It was the executive of West Berkshire Council to approve that.
Thank you, Councillor Marsh. It's the executive that will make the final decision on this now.
Following on from that, I did request, and I know you may not be minded to agree to this, but I did request that at least leaders of groups should be permitted 5 minutes instead of 3 to speak tonight. I think that this is the reason I make the point about the full council is it's the first chance we've had to discuss it. It's a momentous thing in the history of the council, and I think that just restricting everyone to 3 minutes is a shame when there are so many issues that it raises. And I just wondered why you don't seem inclined to agree to this request.
As you know, when we spoke beforehand, Councillor Marsh, I did feel that due to the fact that neither of the other group leaders wished to or had approached me to ask for 5 minutes, and I did go back to the leader, and I think the leader had spoken to the leader of the opposition. Neither of them wished to, so I saw no reason why. I'm afraid you should, as the leader of the minority group. But I would encourage all those in the meeting. The whole purpose of bringing this to full council is to get as many views as possible from right across the district, from all parties, particularly from the backbenchers. So that's the way it's going to be, Councillor Marsh. Thank you. So, Councillor Pemberton, would you like to introduce the report?
Yes, thank you very much indeed, Chair. So, colleagues, I'm delighted to be able to speak this evening about what I believe is a defining moment for local government in our region, and indeed for the future of West Berkshire. We all know the pressures that we face. Our communities expect strong local leadership, high quality services and good value for money. And yet the financial realities we operate under are becoming ever more challenging. The question before us is not whether we must adapt, but how. How do we build a model of local government that is resilient, strategic and ready to serve the future, not the past? Our proposal, Two Councils, One Better Future, sets out a clear answer. It envisions the creation of two unitary authorities, Ridgeway Council, formed from West Berkshire, South Oxfordshire and Vale of Whitehorse district councils, and Oxford and Shires, uniting Oxford City, West Oxfordshire and Cherwell. This is not reorganisation for reorganisation's sake. It is about designing councils of a scale and shape that can truly deliver for our residents, councils that are strategic enough to meet the region's challenges, yet local enough to remain connected to the people and places we serve. For West Berkshire, the benefits are tangible and transformative. First, on housing and development. By joining with our neighbours to the north, we can take a truly strategic view of where homes should be built and infrastructure invested. Our communities are not confined by district borders, nor should planning be. Together, we can improve housing supply and outcomes across the region, ensuring that growth is sustainable, coordinated and supported by the right transport links, schools and local services. Second, on the issue of financial sustainability, we cannot ignore the pressures on our budget. Standing still is not an option, but by creating two larger unitary councils, we unlock genuine economies of scale through shared management structures, fewer councillors across the 7 existing councils, and rationalisation of property, procurement and support services. That means fewer duplicated functions and more resources directed to the front line where they are needed most. It means we can be ambitious in our recurring savings from aggregated senior roles, modernised commissioning teams and more efficient procurement of high-cost services such as care packages and children's placement. And thirdly, on opportunity and growth. The geography of these proposed councils makes sense, not just locally, but regionally and nationally. Ridgeway Council sits at the heart of the corridor between Reading, Oxford and Swindon, with direct links to London and the South West. This is a geography that complements our neighbours and one that aligns with how people actually live, travel and work. Of course, there will be costs to restructuring. That is true of any major transformation. But the lesson from every successful reorganisation is clear. The more ambitious we are for vesting day, the sooner those costs are recovered. This is our moment to be bold, to set out a model that does not simply merge councils, but reimagines what local government can be. Let me be clear. This is not about creating distant bureaucracies or losing local identity. It's quite the opposite. We know that the most effective services are those that are tailored to local need and informed by engagement and prevention. Ridgeway Council would bring together the strategic capability of a larger authority with the local touch that our residents value and deserve. We have learned through experience that people do not judge us by the boundaries on a map. They judge us by the quality of care that their elderly parents receive, the speed of a housing decision, the safety of their streets, and the support available to their children. These are the things that matter, and those are the things this proposal is designed to strengthen. So this is not just a structural change, it is a renewal of our purpose to govern with vision, to spend wisely, and to serve with compassion. In years to come, I believe we will look back on this as the moment we chose to lead, to shape our own destiny, rather than wait for it to be shaped for us. By uniting as Ridgeway Council and alongside our partners in Oxford and Shires, we can deliver the two councils one better future. A future with stronger finances, a future with better homes and infrastructure, a future with smarter, more responsive services, and above all, a future built on collaboration, ambition and trust. So let's seize this opportunity, not because change is easy, but because it is necessary, and because together we can make our community stronger, fairer, and better prepared for the challenges ahead. Thank you.
Yeah.
I now open the debate to the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I've read this report and it is extremely thorough. And my heart, rather than my head, is definitely to retain the mix of rural and market towns as character. And I think Ridgeway will deliver that. However, reading the report as well, I do see on page 233, reorganisational benefit, democracy, section 3.6, members, numbers and election costs. And I also see there is, under the heading of democratic savings, 331 members will be reduced to between 160 to 200 councillors. I do wonder if members should consider how the number of councillors will be reduced without change to ward boundaries by the Boundaries Commission and without causing a democratic deficit. Considering my own time, I'm a full-time employee for a company. I have to find those hours out of my personal time, weekends, evenings, various other things. If the area is going to be much bigger and we've got more people to serve, does that mean that it will only be for people who are councillors who are personally wealthy or who have already retired? So I am concerned that there may be a democratic deficit from these savings that are proposed. I'm just asking members to consider those points. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Reid. Councillor Abbs.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I guess I would basically, if we have to, then this is the right move. So let's get that out of the way. However, why the hell are we doing it? PricewaterhouseCoopers was the national high-level model that basically said that, you know, this generic model, this is what we should do. This is being thrust on us. It's not something we chose to do. Ernst & Young model, which was actually previous to that, talked about real organisations, and it's the same old stuff. Oh yeah, if we're bigger, we're going to save some money. However, all of the examples that you can find from people that have done something similar means that the projects are way later than they originally expect, and therein lies the problem. What I see here is a solution that won't take 2 to 3 years, as per the report seems to indicate. The timeline is amazing, considering that we couldn't even deliver an IT project, one IT project in 3 years. But so we can expect more like 5 to 7 years. And if it's 5 to 7 years, we're not looking at savings anywhere before, what was my estimate here, 2033. Blimey, why on earth are we bothering? If we want to save money, and this is not a go at anybody here who's doing hard work, this is a go at the government, I'm afraid. Sorry, Clive. But basically, why are we bothering? Let's use PPP. Let's do something that actually shares the costs, shares the responsibility, makes the volume bigger, and actually gets on with the job. Well, I just do not understand why we're wasting this much money. I really don't, because I will willing to bet my career as a politician, which will probably over shortly anyway, but my career as a politician, that this will not go as we think. Yeah, it will cost way more than we think, and we shouldn't even be doing it. If we could put a caveat to say to the government, for God's sake, stop, then that's the caveat I would want on this proposal. But yes, if we have to go, then this is the right solution. Thank you.
Councillor Barnett.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm going to follow on from Councillor Reid. I was a Newbury Town or Newbury District Councillor from 91 to 97. And obviously the wards are rather smaller than what was the county divisions, as we called ourselves at the time. And I followed on looking after Winchcombe division, which was the north part of Newbury. Immediately I found that I was involved with social services, education, public protection, and those areas, of course, a lot more than what we were dealing with the Newbury district. And the time considered on that particular county activity was considerable. And the point that Councillor Reid's made is very valuable. We, of course, had meetings at weekends. So will there be meetings at weekends? It could well be the case. Do we want a diverse amount of councillors? Yes, we do, as Councillor Reid has said. If that is the case, we've got to allocate the appropriate salary for that particular person. Because if we don't, it will be some of the individuals that you've identified, Councillor Reid. So I'm all in favour of this move. If it becomes in reality, I'm all in favour of the suggestions which Councillor Pemberton has already made. I think it's appropriate for this district. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of issues we need to look at. And of course, the other point we need to make, we are now in a society where we are on Zoom. We might not, like we used to, travel to Shire Hall. We won't need to, possibly, only for the occasional full meeting. Where will that be held? Of course, that's to be decided. But I suspect at the end of the day, there'll be a lot more Zoom meetings or team meetings. Okay?
Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Chair. It seems to me that two things are very clear about this proposal. West Berkshire Council is too small as it stands, and local government reorganisation will happen one way or another, including West Berkshire Council. So even if we were to decide tonight not to support this proposal, we would have to support or be an alternative, or that might be forced upon us. So what alternatives do we have? Well, this proposal is to join with two authorities to our north. We can't go west because there's already unitary there, and we can't go south because Hampshire's already moved on that. So east would be our only opportunity, and that we don't know, but that would likely mean us joining with Reading and Wokingham, both of which are quite different in character to West Berkshire. It seems to me that Ridgeway the geography would be full of similar sized towns and villages to those that we have in West Berkshire, similarly rural, so therefore likely synergies, common opportunities and common challenges. Unlike if we were to join, for example, with Reading, which is a huge town with very different characteristics. So these three authorities, in my mind, fit together very well. We're all willing partners in this proposal, and I think Ridgeway is the right choice and a good choice for us to move forward with an authority that is the right size with a homogeneous territory, and that's why I'm going to support the motion. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Colston. Councillor Codling.
Thank you, Chairman. I hadn't planned to speak, so I'll be very brief. Firstly, I want to say thank you to all the staff that have been involved in drawing this document together across the councils, and not just staff and members from this council, but across Oxfordshire as well. I think this is an important decision for us, and it's us choosing our own destiny, if the government are listening. But it's not being done to. It's what we want us to do. And the other thing I just wanted to address was Councillor Marsh's thing about time and everything. We're giving the members a chance to speak here and an opportunity to vote. And also there is going to be an extraordinary meeting of scrutiny, and also it will be determined by executive. So you have lots of opportunity to speak. So, you know, you're not being overly limited. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor McCrow.
Mr. Chairman, a meeting ago, Councillor Shakespeare presented a petition to this council, and I also presented a petition against this proposal by our neighbours to the east, Reading, who have want to take over the wards to the east, abutting Reading. My petition was over 400 signatures, and I've also there's been a parish meeting arranged in Thiel, which has asked for a parish poll to take place, which will take place on Thursday, asking that Thiel remain in West Berkshire. And Mr. Chairman, I will be presenting that information to Reading Borough Council at its policy meeting on the 17th, policy committee meeting on the 17th, and asking them to think again about that proposal, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McCrow. Have we any other speakers? Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, again, I hadn't actually prepared to speak on this today, but I think in view of some of the comments that have been made, I'd like to say a few things. Firstly, the comments made by Councillor Reid, I do agree with you. You know, it does concern me the size of the wards that we may be representing in future. And I speak as someone that I run a small business, but I consider myself to have a reasonable amount of spare time, but I struggle to keep up with the workload. And I do wonder how we're going to cope with that in future. So that is a concern. In relation to Councillor Macrow's comments on Thiel, and I do understand, I think Reading is listening to Thiel and Pangbourne, and I believe Councillor Shakespeare attended the recent policy meeting, and I believe made some impression at that meeting. So I'm sure we're going to know in the coming days, and certainly in the next week or so, as to how Reading plans to proceed. But if I can talk about my own ward, which is in Tyler's Birch Copse, it's very much embedded in Reading. There isn't any green space separating it. I think the picture is rather different. Now, I'm not going to pretend there are a lot of people that I'm speaking to that would like to stay in West Berkshire. I'm also speaking to a lot of people that would prefer the move into Reading. And I would say if there's any demographic about it, I would say younger people seem to favour the Reading side of the argument, older people, West Berkshire. But I will be very, you know, I'm going to be considering that very carefully when I come to vote on this today. And I think that view, you know, it may be shared in Purley and Holybrook, but it's not for me to speak. I'm speaking very much in terms of my own, award. Yeah, I recognise what Councillor Abbs was saying earlier in terms of the costs surrounding this. That does concern me. I'm also curious about the fact that, you know, no mention was made of the third option, though I can see it's the least. You know, in the assessments, it doesn't get a particularly high score, but we didn't succeed in getting Oxfordshire not to include an option that doesn't include West Berkshire. So, you know, I do wonder why we weren't able to achieve that, given how closely we were working with them, with Oxfordshire. And clearly there are some people in Oxfordshire that clearly want to go with an option that does exclude us, you know, so I do. You know, I think that's food for thought as to why they may want to do that. Yeah, I'm open-minded. I haven't decided how I'm going to vote. I'll listen to what other councillors have to say, and then we'll make a decision at the end. Thank you.
Give that perspective, Councillor Taylor, from the Far East, as I call it. Councillor Marsh.
Thank you, Chair. Although it's clear that the Ridgeway proposals are superior to the two alternatives in the papers before us, I do have issues with this report, even though it would benefit the Green Party politically. as we would be the official opposition based on current seats in the three councils. At most, however, these proposals are making the best of a bad job. We seem to have accepted at face value the government's claim that its so-called devolution plans are simpler, more sustainable, designed to improve democracy and accountability. In fact, in my view, they're taking a significant amount of the local out of local government. The reality is that a huge council with 500,000 residents will be further removed from the people it is meant to serve. The next level up, mayoral authorities with 1.5 million residents, will be more remote still. Unclear promises about localism do not address this top-down approach. We need decision-making to be as close as possible to the people most affected. Lots of people paid lip service to this, but that's what we want to see. Trusting local communities to know what is best for them and supporting them with investment to deliver real change. The government's back-of-a-fag packet proposals have given no thought to increasing the responsibilities of town and parish councils, for example. Yet Ridgeway Council will be much bigger, and its councillors will be covering such large wards, as we've heard, a point that only Councillor Wollaston raised when this came up at executive in May about in March rather, about the size of the wards and the effect on caseload for members. That the town or parish council will be the only contact most people have with their elective representatives. The proposals raise more questions than they answer. It's not clear when elections in 2027 for the new authority or this authority will be held. That's not clear at all, and I do think our residents, as well as members, deserve an answer to that, hopefully before we vote tonight. I can't tell from that paper what we're supposed to be doing in 2027. Turning to the vision for Ridgeway in the report, we read, our proposal commits to meeting the government's housing aspiration as a foundation and driver of economic growth. The government's housing aspiration is unobtainable based on cash to trash planning reforms that will devastate much of our countryside and wildlife while failing to meet its targets. I am so disappointed to see this council and its proposed successor buying into the shallow build baby build philosophy of a government that cares nothing for the environment. There's nothing in here at all. There are no mentions in this report of climate change or the biodiversity crisis, which are the first 4 words of this council's strategy. There's no mention of it anywhere in the document. The other parts of our strategy are covered in the document. Suddenly, climate change, sustainability, and so forth doesn't matter. So for all those reasons, I'm very sorry, because I can see some advantages to it, but I won't be able to support this measure. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Marsh. Councillor Dick.
Thank you, Chairman. And again, thank you to those who have put together this complicated and lengthy document. So let's go back to the people who matter, and that's the people who use the services. You can tell that I was once young, and I was a brand new, brand new enthusiastic head teacher in Thatcham, and Berkshire County Council was going along swimmingly, lots of resources to support schools and others. And then came reorganisation, and I was very much involved in that. But when you replace a big council with 6 unitaries, you divide and you conquer. So it has already been said this evening by Councillor Pemberton that we do not have the critical mass to offer what our people deserve and what we want to do. So I think we should remember that, and we should bear in mind the fact that these are the people we should be looking after. So I welcome this proposal. I see a critical mass which will enable us not just to survive, but to develop services that people deserve and watch this very important part of the country grow in every way. I'd urge people in the room not to get on their bandwagons. If there's things they don't like about this, let's hear some solutions. And I would just finish on that one. I think the key thing for me that needs a lot of thought is what Councillor Reid has begun with, and that is how we manage to make sure that we have enough elected members of whatever persuasion, background, etc., 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 so that people can be properly supported. I think there's something in the document that needs a bit of thought there, but otherwise, forward optimistically. Thank you.
Councillor Jeffrey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Council. I think I can follow up Councillor Dick's comments, probably very briefly for once. This is our moment to be bold. We are going to be shaping our own future. It's going to be a renewal of our purpose as a council serving our people. I shall be voting for the proposal, and I would ask every member present to consider very seriously doing the same. Thank you.
Councillor Brooks.
Chairman, thank you. Did I ever tell you I was the last leader of Berkshire County Council? I was the last councillor, the last county councillor for Thatcham. I had 11,000 voters and I coped pretty well with representing them. I am not too troubled by people concerned that we will go up to maybe 5,000 or 6,000 voters per councillor, but there'll be more discussion about that, I'm sure, in the future. I don't remember, Councillor Dick, you ever saying things were going along swimmingly at Berkshire County Council. Thank you for that after all these years. But what we knew at that time was 6 unitary authorities was never going to be cheaper and frankly were too small. We've done tremendously well here to run good services for nearly 30 years. But with 6 chief executives, 6 directors of adult social care, 6 directors of education, it was a job creation transformation, frankly. And here we are with 165,000 people struggling to cope with demand, struggling to have the resources and finances to cope with demand. Councillor Abbs, nothing has been thrust upon us. And you should know, as a businessman, economies of scale are what you get and you lock out single points of failure. And therefore, this now is the right scale. 470,000 people. There are councils up and down the country of 1 million or more, and that is too big. This has become the right size to get the best value for people, the best services for people, and the best resilience in that council financially and in terms of capacity and resources to deliver those services. So it's the right thing to do. It wasn't thrust upon us because South Oxford and Vale came to us and said, will you come into a bid with us? They are very, very keen. And they found in us, in this party at least, and I think probably across the chamber, people who have the same values and vision for their residents in a largely rural area. It works. And there are emotional ties from the old Berkshire pre-1974, where we have people saying, I want to come back to Berkshire. We're not changing the county boundary, but you will be back within a Berkshire sort of curtilage in terms of councils. So this is an indicative vote tonight. We didn't have to bring it to full council. We could have done it through executive, but we're not. I appreciate all the support we are getting in this chamber from people outside who actually see the common sense of it. So support it. Let's send a real message to government that this council and people are behind this, and it's a no-brainer to deliver it. I so support. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Kander.
Good evening. I, like most people, didn't intend speaking tonight, but I just wanted to pick up on Councillor Taylor's position earlier. Having done an unofficial poll, for want of a better phrase, on Facebook in the local groups in Tylehurst and Purley, and attended the thing that Councillor Brooks did also at Tylehurst and Purley and in Purley Parish Council. Again, overwhelmingly, everybody, both online and in the Parish Council, fully support. Not so much this particular thing, because I don't think they fully understand it, because it's one of those things that's going to take time to evolve. But what I do support is not being part of Reading. Very much behind the services that they get in West Berkshire, the fact that we are semi-rural in a lot of cases, and the fact that we don't want to be part of a cosmopolitan area like Reading in any way, shape or form. And in terms of the devil's always in the detail and the timings and what have you. These things will flush out. Right now, this is just about taking our own destiny in our own hands. And I think that's what we've got to do. So I fully support too. Thank you.
Councillor Oloko.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. I also wasn't going to speak tonight, just to add that in. But I just wanted to pick up on what my colleague here said, and also rebut Councillor Taylor there as well. That Tyler South and Holybrook, we don't want to go to Reading. The polls that I've had, the discussions that I've had, are saying we don't want to go to Reading. So that's a position. So my assertion is that, as they say when people go to war, leave no one behind. So West Berkshire, leave no one behind. Thank you.
Councillor Wollaston.
Thank you, Chairman. Firstly, could I congratulate Councillor Reid on actually going through all these papers, because I'm afraid I failed reluctantly. So forgive me as well if I perhaps missed something that was in the detail. We are today exactly 18 months from the next election, and I'd be interested to know whether it's going to be for West Berkshire Council or whether it's going to be for the combined council in advance. I'd also be interested to know just how many councillors we're likely to have for West Berkshire within that combined council, so we get a better feel for just how we're going to be able to represent our residents. Overall, I'm without question supportive of this approach. It's by far the best of anything else that's on offer, and I believe that the government is determined to push this through. But I'd also be interested in some detail on just what the costs are. I mean, there must be cost savings in staff, presumably. Presumably we don't need, sorry, Joseph, 3 chief executives, only 1. And so forth. But also, we're going to need a new council chamber. If we're going to have 100+ people, we're not going to fit them in here, and we've probably got the largest of anybody. So I think there's a bit more meat on the bone required, but I am supportive. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wollaston. I see no other speakers, so I'll get my own few words in before we move to the summation speeches. I was here at the last local government reorganisation, like a number of members who I think are all on my left, as it happens. But it can be difficult within parties because there are members of all parties here tonight and a certain party that isn't here tonight who may not be agreeing which of the 3 Oxfordshire proposals to go with. So I can reassure members on all sides that we do get through this. Change happens. Change is sometimes thrust upon us, and we just have to take control of it, as I think Councillor Pemberton said. So I'm very grateful for the large number of speeches from people who are not going to be making the decision. And that's why we came to this full council, to get a view from elected members right across the district, from Councillor Wollaston to Councillor Oloko and everywhere in between. And I am now going to ask for the yes, the seconder. Quite, yes. I know that's the start of the end, if you know what I mean. Councillor McKinnon.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and I've listened with great interest to some of the very well put contributions so far. I'm going to come back to Councillor Colston, who made a couple of points. One of which I disagree with, one of which I agree with. He said that if there is to be a reorganisation, this is by far the best proposal. I think Councillor Abbs, who made a lot of interesting points as well, I think you accepted that as well. If it is to happen, this is the best option. I agree with that completely. And Martin, Councillor Colston, you also said that what we do know is that local government reorganisation will happen. I wouldn't be so sure about that. The government have said it's going to happen. If you want to take a moment to let this sink in, sometimes governments say things that don't actually happen. Rachel Reeves, for instance, last year said that this budget was wiping the slate clean, and it means that she won't have to come back and raise taxes again. Do you remember that? Yeah. Yeah. Well, last year's budget was necessary, of course, because of the Tories. because of Brexit, because of Nick Clegg, because of the Falklands War, and a huge black hole that the Spanish Armada left behind in 1588. God, Rachel Reeves has done well to deal with all of that, but I think it looks like she might be coming back with some more taxes. So we don't know if it is going to happen. If it is to happen, though, then this is by far the best option. It just fits. This is not a party political thing. It really does. The Vale, South Oxfordshire and West Berkshire, it just feels right. It feels like a natural fit. And I think it's definitely the best option. Councillor Reid raised the option of, raised the spectre, I think, of fewer councillors in the end. I have to say, I think the public might be okay with that when we're going out to sell it. I don't agree with Councillor Barnett's suggestion that we increase our allowances substantially. I think councillors go into this out of a sense of public service. I think that's true on all sides, and it does involve a bit of sacrifice and a bit of hard work. And if we're going to be selling this to the public, I think increasing the allowances that we get paid is a non-starter. I think the question of ward sizes, though, and councillor numbers is a decent question to think about, and I think it does require consideration, I think, by the Boundary Commission at a later date. Everything else I could say has already been said. Well done to the officers and the members who've worked hard on this. And let's get behind it. Assuming that council supports this tonight, we need to go out there, all of us, we need to go out there and sell it and bring the public with us. One of my colleagues said, I think Councillor Kander said, the public don't quite know too much about it yet. And I think that's fair. It's our job to make sure that they do. So let's get behind it. Let's make it happen. And I hope that we support it this evening. Thank you.
Councillor Pemberton, over to you to sum up.
So thank you very much indeed, Chair. So firstly, I'd like to also echo Councillor McKinnon's comments of thanks to the officers that have done this piece of work to prepare the report that's before you this evening. When this process started several months ago, it involved multiple different councils. We hadn't even agreed where the meetings were going to be. The meetings were held at different places. And as anybody will know, a document of this size involves a huge amount of endeavour. Trying to do it with multiple voices in the room and designing a document by committee is not easy. So I too would like to thank the officers for doing this piece of work. And it was a piece of work that was unexpected. If we look back to just a year ago, when the government first announced what it wanted to do with local government reorganisation and its vision of future government, nobody knew that we would be where we are now. I'm also grateful to the comments from members, most of them. There's a few that I'd like to, I would like to pick up on. Members have rightly made the point about the number of councillors that we will end up with across this new unitary authority. I guess first of all, to Councillor Wollaston's point, we're looking at 38 here in West Berkshire. I believe the officers may correct me, it's 96 altogether across what will be the Ridgeway Council. So it's a reduction in 5. We had to do it quite crudely because we didn't have a lot of time. This was a proposal which demanded speed. So we took the decision to look at those 3-member wards and say, actually, they can continue to operate with 2 members without too much disruption on our service to residents. Members are absolutely right to point to the fact that doing this role is challenging. It demands a lot, and there are inevitably changes which need to be made to make this more accessible to people that would like to put themselves forward and do this. I have to say, that is a conversation that's probably outside the remit of what we're proposing here tonight. And Councillor Brooks has gone through some of the numbers where other councils and councillors are representing larger numbers of residents, perhaps some of us here are, but those numbers are not out of kilter. Government does have to think seriously about making this role more accessible and how it's easier for people to put themselves forward. Councillor Abbs, you question the numbers, and that's a fairly reasonable point for you to raise. The numbers are in the document in detail, but I do wish that you would be a little bit more enthusiastic and ambitious about the work that's gone into this and where we envisage this ending up. You point to an IT project, but you haven't pointed to all of the amazing transformation work that's already going on in this council. To Councillor Marsh's point about that locality aspect, it's extremely important. Guess what? We're already doing it. We've got our community hub model. We've got our Let's Talk model. We're going out into the community and we're speaking to residents and we're finding out what their pain points are without them having to come here into our council. We are looking at how we commission our services for vulnerable children. We are looking at how we can digitise parts of our planning. And Councillor Marsh talks about build, baby, build, and where's the climate priorities in this document? We've already got those climate priorities. They're in our planning policies and in our local plan. That's not going to change tonight. In terms of the total number of councillors, I've obviously covered that off. I don't think that will have a dramatic impact. And the final point I would make, Councillor Taylor, you mentioned Oxfordshire. Well, Oxfordshire has put in an alternative proposal for local government reorganisation. The details are in the pack. I don't know about other members in the room, but I don't want to be part of a greater Oxfordshire. In fact, I don't even want to see a county-wide unitary Oxfordshire with 780,000 members in it, 780,000 residents in it, over 50% above the threshold that the government has set out for the size that these unitary authorities should look like, and leaving West Berkshire Council immediately to the south of it with 160,000 residents, all of the problems that causes with procurement of services and the lack of the economies of scale, the financial pressures, they're not exactly a secret. So those are my final comments, members. Once again, I'm grateful to everybody that's spoken. And I do hope that we can grasp this opportunity tonight and vote for something which I do genuinely believe will be transformational in the future, not just of this council, but also of our district as well.
Members, before I ask the Deputy Monitoring Officer to conduct the vote, I would just like to highlight what we're actually voting on tonight. There's A, B, C, D and E, of which the important one is C, and it's on page 10, and I'll read that in full, but then touch on E. We are here to recommend that Executive approve the submission to Government of a full proposal as detailed in Appendix A for the 2 unitary model based on 1 new unitary council covering the entire district boundaries of South Oxfordshire and Vale of Whitehorse district councils and West Berkshire Council, with the working title of Ridgeway and a 2nd new unitary, etc., etc. And also that we are to be informed that should Executive agree to that submission for the full proposal for a 2 unitary model, the various councils that comprise it will submit the full proposal directly to Government in line with the Oxfordshire invitation letter. Oxfordshire invitation letter. That's what the process has all been about, an approach by Oxfordshire in response to the government's invitation to them to submit proposals. So would you please conduct the vote by a show of hands?
Thank you, Chairman. If I could have a show of hands, all those in favour? Any against? And any abstentions? Thank you. I can confirm that that's been carried.
I close the meeting. Very good tempered.